Shalom, Israel. I'm your brother Mosh.
Shalom.
And to the right of me, I got my reader, Ira.
Shalom.
And we here to discuss the acts of being selfless. I'm not.
I might be taking a minute.
I'll keep going. We're here to discuss the acts of being selfless. What inspired this lesson for me was Christ, ultimately. His selfless acts of giving his life and he didn't have no regards to it. The concept of being selfless is having little to no concern for oneself, especially with regards to fame or position. And Christ is an ultimate example of that. Because everything starts with leadership first, and it follows down to the rest of the camp and the community and stuff of that nature. So let me get Isaiah 53 and verse 5.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 5. But he was wounded for our
You
transgressions.
see, Christ was wounded for our transgressions. No, though he was a perfect man, he took upon himself to be a sacrificial lamb, coined the sacrificial goat, but the sacrificial lamb ultimately, because he didn't cry, complain, or did any of those things. But he still kept going. He was persistent to give his life for us. So when he was getting those whippings, he was thinking about each and every individual that's in his classroom or online. Even though he had a real Negro moment, he didn't want to die. But he thought about every last one of us in the classroom. When he was getting whooped, he thought about IQAhmath. When he got whooped, he was thinking about me. When he got whooped, he thought about Iraq. And he kept going because he gave himself for the greater good. Great is he that sacrificed himself for his friend or a nation. And that's how I think about that's what I think about when I look at the chessboard. They say the queen is the piece. I say the pawns is the powerful piece because they give themselves in order for their nation or the king and the queen to advance. That's more powerful, to give yourself onto something for the betterment of your nation or for the advancements of a people, just to claim victory, to be valley Victorian. Keep going.
He was bruised for our iniquities.
The Lord, it says he was bruised for our iniquities. He wasn't bruised for his own iniquities because he didn't have it. He was a man without guilt, without sin. God, without sin. He was perfect. He was the Lord of the Sabbath. Keep going.
The chastisement of our peace was upon him.
Everything was upon him. That's why when he did have those thoughts, doubt, the woe is me mentality, he didn't get led by his feelings. He led his feelings through the love for us and through the obedience of his Father. Keep going.
And with his stripes we are healed.
He said through his stripes we are healed, not through the stripes of what ourselves or with dropping Kobe numbers, dropping 80. I know how you score, but how can you pass? The Spurs was the best fundamental team. Why? Because they showed sportsmanship. They had a team. They had a team value mentality. They showed values in passing the ball instead of scoring all the time. That's what made the Spurs so great during that time. Keep going.
All we like sheep have gone astray.
But we stray away. Why do we stray away? Because we start to talk about each other. We start to down each other. We so quick to diss each other with the whole Drake and Kendrick fiasco. Why us as black people want to dance all the time? We dance to a pedophile song. Like that's like a good thing. We brag about Kendrick being a woman beater and want to sing those lyrics. Want to diss each other. The ultimate diss is in this Bible. When the Lord said, I will have a perpetual hatred for Amalek. That is the greatest diss of all times. And I'm going to be singing to that every day. The greatest? Oh, the Lord, he's the greatest author. He's the best rapper. But you want to crown the king by destroying another so-called black man's legacy through accusations like pedophilia is something to be laughing about or dancing to, snap your feet. Talk about you gonna pop out. Yeah, let me see you pop out with love. We know how you could be a thug. How can you hug though? Everybody wanna ride for your brother. Ride for your brother in unity. March and stunt for your brother through unity, through forgiveness. Practice those things instead of trying to win an argument and debate. Try to win your brother over by agreeing with him, even though you don't agree with him. Kindly agree to disagree and keep it pushing. That is what it takes for us to be a nation. Keep going.
We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all.
You see, the Lord have laid on us the iniquity of us all because we in this thing together. Instead of adding value to ourselves and try to fatten up our pockets, let's fatten up the nation's pockets. This society been raping us since I don't know how long, even our money. We sitting there want to crown the king of hip hop. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift is still number one. And she ain't even part of a diss track. The Swifties is going crazy. But instead of that, let's add value to ourselves. Let me get Philippians 2, verse 4. And these are different attributes. Adding to yourself adding value to others instead of oneself is a selfless characteristic. It's a character, it's an attribute of being selfless. Bring it up.
The book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 4. Look not every man on his own things.
The Lord don't care about what you have going on for yourself, just because it's just you. You just worrying about your family, your household. IQAhmath be having sleepless nights, putting together the don't shoot the messages. That's a selfless act. And he still managed to come here looking extra moisturized. After all of that. You can't tell me this brother's not dedicated. That's love right there. Pause. Still coming in, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Rashov still putting in the work. I'll be retired by this age. But he still put in the work because he loved y'all so much. That's a selfless act. Driving his Cadillac. Hanging on by a dear thread. But still managed to get the class. All praises, man. All praises. Keep going.
Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others.
The Lord said, focus on your nation. Because what made Solomon wise, why did God give him the extra blessing? Because he didn't only focus on himself, he focused on his nation. I need wisdom. I need to learn how to deal with your people. These people's unruly. I need the wisdom to deal with these people because I am pulling my hair, snatching up the teeth. How can I maintain stability of this nation if I ain't got the wisdom to do so? So the Lord blessed them tenfold. He said, you know what, you're right, young buck. I'm going to also give you riches, wisdom to deal with my people and to maintain and manage them. That's the beauty of Solomon, even David. David didn't have no regards of his little body. And he went up against a titan. But he only thought about Israel. That's why the Lord made sure his victory was victorious, because he thought about his people. This uncircumcised peasant. Come on now. Keep going.
Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Yahushua.
And this is what Christ thought when he was taking those lashes, when he was on the cross. He thought about each and every individual. So do not think that your life does not matter. You're here for a reason. Everybody here is for a reason. Keep going.
Who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God.
He didn't even consider himself equal. He said, all praises to the Father, not to me. Worship him alone. He's the only one that's good. Even though he did all these good things, he still considered himself robbery if he considered himself equal to his Father. Because my motto is, I'm not better than no man, but no man is better than me. And that's the humility of it. Keep going.
But made himself of no reputation.
He didn't have no regards, no reputation. He could have stole the spotlight. He could have took the fame and ran with it, looking like the book of Clarence. He could have been on that type of tip, but he wasn't. He said, you know what? All praise due to the Father. I'm gonna keep it pushing. Even though I might it's just like somebody who like ghostwriting. Even though I wrote that 16 for that man, but I didn't get no credit for it. The Christ was the same way. The ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate example for humility and how each and last one of us should be, even women too. Women too should be inspired to be like Christ too, because you can learn something from him, even though you're a female. His values, his attributes, his virtues. You can make them your own in your own feminine way. You ain't got to be masculine about it. You want?
but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant.
You see, he was a servant. He humbled himself. He was washing feet. I wouldn't dare touch nobody's feet. He is washing feet. He made himself a servant. You was able to talk to him. He didn't get an attitude with you if you had a question, even though he was an austere man. But he let you get your question a point across. He didn't think none of your questions was a dumb question, even though he knew the answer to it and knew what you was going to say. He still acknowledged you, approached you. He treated all men equal, even if you had zeal or don't have zeal, because zeal is only utilized to push forth the laws, the works. Because zeal can come and go. I didn't see people with zeal lose zeal. Why? Because they lost humility for the love of the people, ultimately. You want?
And was made in the likeness of men.
And he was made in the likeness of men. He wasn't made in the likeness of angels. He was made in the likeness of men, because if he was made in the likeness of angels, he wouldn't be able to shed blood, because angels don't have blood to shed. Keep going.
And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself.
He humbled himself ultimately. Like Kendra said, be humble. Sit down. Some of us need to have a seat. We so quick to disrespect each other just because we talk proper. Just because you think my black is not black enough, because I talk like I got some sense, so we shame each other. You go to a white school, they tell you a nigga. You go to a black school, they say you're not black enough. Which one is it? We got to be the ones to defend ourselves or each other. We got to be the gated community. We shouldn't just wait for New Jerusalem to come down to be a gated community. We got to block the noise. You hear a sister whispering about this sister? What's up with you? I guess she doing this, but why are you talking about her? You was just as guilty as she is, because you see her struggling in this department, but you don't want to help her. But you want to bring her down, though. Shame on you. Christ would never do such a thing. I would never. He would never. Keep going.
And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross.
See, he was obedient unto death. Some of us will flake out. We be having a hard time to try to find a meetup spot. We were trying to kick it. Christ was humbled unto death. We struggle with that. He didn't struggle at all. He was persistent. To be persistent, that means no matter the afflictions or whatever is faced in front of you, he still maintained and managed to overcome those obstacles, even though he didn't want to do it. We got to start, as a people, we got to start leading the nation in assist instead of always focusing on scoring. And that's what our Lord, our heavenly Savior, Hamashiach did. He led the nation in assist, not in always scoring. He didn't make everything about him. That's why he passed the rock and gave it to Peter. He didn't think about himself after death, or when he rose and ascended to heaven. He didn't say, aha, good luck in hell. He said, you know what? I'm going to send somebody just to be a representation of me. And I'm going to send Peter, another rock. Let's get Luke 6 and verse 35. Oh, I'm sorry. Another aspect of being selfless is leading the nation in assist. Not worrying about oneself and always want to have the role of being in the spotlight or having for publicity. It's all about leading your nation in assist and what you can add to help value other people. Even in your position of life, just because you got blessed in a high position, it wasn't because it's just for you. It was solely for the help of bettering the position of Israel. Just like the story of Joseph. Joseph was in a great position merely to put Israel in a better position. That was the ultimate reasoning behind the story of Joseph. Even though he was betrayed by his brothers, he still forgave his brothers. He still passed the rock. He still humbled himself. He could have said, man, forget y'all. Y'all sold me, I'm gonna sell y'all. But no, he forgave them. And ultimately, that's the reasoning behind why the Lord put Joseph in those predicaments to help better and advance Israel. Ultimately, Luke 6 and 35.
The book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 35. But love ye your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again.
You see, in land, the end of the commandments is charity. That's the end of the commandments. Is giving. Giving a portion to yourself. Even if you good at making a resume. That can further advance somebody in a better position. You just contribute to somebody's success and respect. And don't even want nothing in return. Even when you have a little bit of change in your pockets, you willing to give. Why? Because that's going to help further your people, your nation. And in the return, the person's going to do the same thing to another person who's down and out. And then that's going to develop and create a bigger, better seed. Keep going.
And your reward shall be great.
The Lord said your reward going to be great. Don't worry about what a man can give you in return. Worry about what God can give you in return. Because your riches is in heaven. You ain't got to worry about your baby mama trying to get to your riches. Your kids trying to play in your money. Well, Dad, I need this. The Lord said ain't no moth, rust, or none of that going to get to your riches. That's stored in heaven. And that's solely based upon what we can do for one another, not what we can do for just ourselves. Though we gotta what the Lord say? We gotta do our own salvation with. Even though we gotta work on our own salvation with fear and trembling, but ultimately we can bring people in our salvation by help bringing each other up. Ultimately, let's get Proverbs 19 and verse 17.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 17. He that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given he will pay him again.
The Lord said, I'm going to pay you back again because you pity the poor. When I look at people that's on the streets, I think of myself. I still think I'm poor, even though I live in a house. I still think I'm homeless. I still think I don't have nothing. Why? Because my people don't have nothing. We still struggling living check to check, paycheck to paycheck, still trying to survive. Oh, it's me mentality. But the thing is, what makes it better is when we have each other. Instead of just having ourselves, going to an empty house, I can go to a plentiful nation and not worry about my empty house because I feel love around me. That's the beauty of it. The Lord said, I'm going to give it back. You ain't got to worry about borrowing from Puka. He ain't going to pay you back. The Lord said, I'm going to pay you back. Drop that. Let's get another attribute of being selfless is being generous. Giving. But you also got to know who you're giving to. Because I'm not giving to no rapist so he could buy whatever the heck you want to buy. You got to just know who you give it to. Start giving to your people, your nation, to help better and further them. And start living in your life like a gated community. A community before the kingdom of New Jerusalem ascend. And ultimately, it's a whole universe inside of us. But it's up to us to tap into it, to figure out who we going to be. How we going to lead. Generational wealth is only beneficial when you pass it down. Knowledge is only beneficial when you give it to others. Instead of holding on to it. It's not a secret. Let it out. Keep going. Colossians 3 and 14 for me, please. Another aspect of being selfless is being generous. So now we're going to get into generosity. Colossians 3 and 14.
It's after Philippians. The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 18.
14.
Select 14. And above all these things, put on charity.
The Lord said, put on charity. You got to wear it like a fashion statement. You got to put it on. Don't take it off. This is essential. You got to put it on. Like the whole armor of God. He wants you to rock this. This is your uniform. If you want to be an Israelite, this is your uniform. You got to put on charity. You got to put on the whole armor of God. Not put on your Gucci, your Louis. your silk, your all white linen for your linen party. The Lord said you got to put on this charity. Down the noise from outside, come inside. This is where the function's at. Keep going.
And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness.
You see, this is the bond of perfectness because this is what binds us together in perfect love and perfect unity. Because love covers the multitude of sin. When you give forgiveness, you're covering that person's shame. Even though you can air them out, you can make them look foolish as much as they already are, but you choose not to. Let me get 1 Corinthians 13 and 13.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 13. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity.
The Lord said the greatest of these is charity. He didn't say the least, the greatest. You know R. Kelly's song, I'm the greatest? The Lord is singing this to y'all. This is the greatest. This is what really defines a man. His willing and inability to give. What are you willing to give? How are you willing to assist? When you see somebody down and out, what are you gonna do? You gonna scream, "Who man's is this?" You ain't gonna pick your man's up. Because we experience the same things all together. That's why when somebody's down, I feel down with them. When somebody broke, I feel like my pockets is broke. Let me get that's why the Lord said we gotta burden each other's burdens. Because what the next man is going through, you can easily go through the same thing. Let me get that. Galatians 6. One down to 2.
The book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 1. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness.
He said the spirit of meekness. That's a powerful thing to restore somebody in the spirit of meekness. Because he called us brothers ultimately. He didn't call us niggas. He didn't call us any of those vain things that this world put on us. He called us brothers. Keep going.
Considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted.
The Lord said you got to consider yourself. Though this person may be going through what he's going through, you can go through the same thing by tomorrow. While you're over there laughing, the Lord's telling you, I'm going to laugh at your calamities too. Because you thought it was funny that this person is going through what they're going through. Even David had enough humility to feel for Saul. Killed the man. And that was his enemy. So why you can't put on that same humility as if you're better? You're not better. Keep going.
Bear ye one another's burdens.
The Lord said you got to start bearing one another's burdens. Start looking out for the next man. Start speaking life into each other. Not disses and death and this, that, and the third. We already know what it's like to be dissing and killing each other. What is it like? What's a life in a society of loving and hugging each other? We so quick to want to hug the block. Let's hug each other. Back in the old church, you used to hold hands and sing prayers together. Let's do that spiritually and physically. But giving ourselves to one another. Even Elijah gave a portion of himself to Elisha. He wasn't just thinking about himself, even though he was going to a better place. He was being ascended. He was ascended up. He didn't think about himself. He thought about Elisha because the battles ahead is far more worse for him. That's why he gave a portion of himself. You got to start giving a portion of yourself to each and every last one of these individuals. That's in need because it's essential for the betterment of our nation. Because if you want to go far, you got to take others with you. But if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. But in order for you to succeed, you got to take others with you. Christ knew that. He said, I go prepare the place up in heaven. He still did not forget about us at the end of the day. He still thought about us. It wasn't all about him. Well, I'm in heaven. I'm the right hand man of my father. I'm gonna just leave y'all hanging. No, he made sure we were straight, no matter what. Who took the next spot? Peter, from Peter to Paul. Nobody. Everything was continuing on the advancements of Israel, putting on for the city instead of putting on for your hood. Everything was about that. Your nation building. But we got to practice on being patient with one another instead of having Negro moments. Once again, popping the trunk on your brother, shooting him with bullets. Start shooting him with some knowledge, with some love and forgiveness, love and affection, like the old school way. Even though they were selling dope in the 80s, but now we selling this new knowledge for free. Patience. That's another attribute of being selfless. Let me get Colossians 3 and 12.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved.
He said holy and beloved. That means set apart and beloved. Showing some type of form of affection. You're beloved. Somebody calling you beloved, that's you being endearment. It's a title. Keep going.
Bowels of mercy.
Bowels of mercy. Not just a little bit, it's a whole bow. It's in your pit, your stomach. Keep going.
Kindness.
Kindness. Not rude, disrespectful. Because an ugly attribute for a woman is her attitude. If her attitude is funky, she ugly. Flat out. If a brother who cannot provide for, it's more to provision than just money. If he's not leading his family, you whack. You gotta lead your family, no matter what it is. You want?
Humbleness of mind.
He said humbleness of mind, not being high-minded. Everything is about me. That's why they developed the Me Too movement. No, I'm playing. But always about yourself. Keep going.
Meekness. Long suffering.
Long suffering. We got to start being long suffering towards one another, instead of just when it's convenient for you. Oh, I'll forgive them when I feel like it. No, I'm doing that. Tomorrow's not promised. Why wait? Now you got quarrels in your nation for no reason. It can all be dissolved. You want?
Forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye.
A quarrel. So when you at odds with somebody, when you're beefing, the Lord said you gotta start seeing eye to eye towards one another, because love is only displayed when you start to, no matter how you feel, you still like love that person. No matter, in spite of how you feel, you still love that person. That's the true displayment of love. Let's get 2 Peter. Let me see what I got. Oh, Matthew 16:18. Leading the nation in assist. So ultimately, Christ is the ultimate figurine for a selfless being. He led the nations in assist. This is what you call looking out for your brother. When he passed the rock to Peter. Figure it out.
The book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 18. And I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
You see, Christ gave Peter the keys. He didn't no longer just look out for himself. He still passed the rock, put his person on in game, gave him the blueprint, gave him the rundown. He didn't just think about himself. He thought about his nation. Putting another person who's just like himself in a position to help further his nation by leading the nation in assist, having patience, adding value to others, all these, and being generous, having little or no concern to oneself is ultimately what being selfless is. And we ultimately we gotta start treating everybody the same. Even if somebody's more zealous than the next man or the next woman, we still gotta treat each other the same because Christ did had the same mentality. He looked at every individual equal, not less than or greater than. He looked at every individual equal, especially Israelites. Let's get Romans 2 and 11.
The book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 11. For there is no respect of persons with God.
See, God don't have respect of persons. He don't see man in zeal like we see it. We think it's just because a man is on fire, that just deserves some type of reward. No, the man is on fire when he gives himself to his nation without expecting anything in return. Christ doesn't have no respect of persons just because you're scoring. Let me see how you assist. Let me get the next segment is treat everyone the same. So let me get James 2. We're gonna read 1 through 8.
The book of James, chapter 2, verse 1. My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord, Hamashiach Yahushua, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons.
Again, I have no respect of persons. Treat everybody the same. Even the person that's all the way at the end of the bench, you treat him just like the star player. That's it. That's in the beginning of the bench. You still got to treat everybody the same. Because the person at the end can easily be in the position that's ahead, because the last shall be first and the first shall be last. And we Israelites, it's nothing for us to be kings. It's an easy task for the Lord to turn nothing into something. That's an easy task. You going?
For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring in goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing.
When it's talk about the gay clothing, that means more of a fancy attire. It's very loud. He's a loud person. You look like he got money. So I'm gonna need you to sit right here. So now you put the person with the best clothing in a high position, but you put the person as of a less status at the low. Keep going.
And say unto him, sit thou here in a good place.
So you tell this person, this rich man who looks rich, but his spirit is all jacked up, sit right here, sit with us. Keep going.
And say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool.
But you treat this person who looks poor, but you don't even know his spirit might be on 12. But you treat him like he's nothing. You going? But you say he's your footstool. He eats the crumbs at the table. When the Lord is the one ultimately to decide that who eats the crumbs, who gets the whole loaf. It's the Lord who decides that, not us, not humans on earth. We gotta wait for the Lord to crown us. He the one crowns real kings, real queens. He the one that do the real crowning, not men on earth. The crowns on earth, it turns green when you wear it for too long. You get the fake gold, it turns green. You want that crown? You leave it out for too long, it turns brown. I had one. It turned brown. That's not a real gold. Come on, tarnish. But what would it be like a crown from heaven who does not rust? Ultimately, what I'm telling y'all is wait for Christ to crown you. Don't wait for people on earth to crown you. Because we are just mortal men. Keep going.
Are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts?
You see, the Lord look at this as an evil thought. This is evil. For you to sit there and judge a man just because what he wearing. I've seen a lot of people with Gucci do some evil things, hitting licks, rapping about doing somebody's baby mama. Why are you on the phone? They do some vile stuff. And some Gucci flip-flops. Let Future tell it. Keep going.
Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world rich in faith?
You see, we are poor. We're the poor he's talking about. Because we are the biggest consumers, but we're the brokest. Make it make sense. We big spenders, big tippers. We getting that big bag, but we big broke at the same time. Why? Because we don't big share. Come on now. Keep going.
And heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised to them that love him?
The Lord say you're heirs. You're not Negroes. You're not African American. Damn the culture. What's your heritage like? Can't you say he doing this for the culture? Brother, you need to start doing it for your heritage. Damn the culture. The culture changes every day. Anybody's allowed in. You're not allowed in this gated community of Israelites. I'm sorry, white people cannot be a part of this. The Taylor Swifts and Macklemore, whatever his name is, you're not a part of it. It's foul play within the culture. It's a shift change, and I don't like it. Kind of tricky. Keep going.
But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seats? Do not they blaspheme that worthy name by the which ye are called?
You see, ultimately, because we're called Israelites, they blaspheme us every day, but not putting us in our proper positions in life. That's the ultimate disrespect. To be walking, to know we deserve to be on horses. These people should be like lifting us up by their shoulders. That's how special we are to God. He loves us that much. But what we do, we crown, that's like your wife go getting your crown and putting it on another man's head. We do that to God all the time. By dancing with the devil. By thinking the world is better. They fashion suck and rust. It's a one-time wear. But the white robes that's prepared in heaven, that doesn't fade. You ain't got to worry about it getting dirty. You ain't got to worry about smelling musty. That's a heavenly gift that the Lord has given to us. We as a nation, we got to start giving those same things to each other by uplifting each other when we down and out instead of just worrying about ourselves. Let me get Oh, read the 8. I said all the way down to 8. Okay, get that.
Verse 8. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well.
See, this is a well thing. To love thy neighbor as thyself, that's a well thing. Even though it's hard, it's a well thing. To look at somebody and see yourself, it's cool. That's what's worth living for, dying for, is one another, each other. The teacher is not just the greatest thing, the reader is too. He's just as important. Equal value. I couldn't do it without him. Reading. I'm not doing all this by myself. He's mixing and mastering. Keep going. Nigga, drop that. Let me get Mark 12 and 30.
The book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 30. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment.
You see, this is the first commandment. And I bring this out just to show you. If we wasn't too busy loving ourselves, ultimately we would have enough room to love God and love our neighbor as ourselves. But we started replacing the love of God and the love of other people with being self-centered. And that's the wrong spirit to be in. Because now we looking mismatched in the spirit. We looking like a Biggie Little. Long leg, short leg. We looking awkward. Our walk is not good. Because a false a balance is an abomination to the Lord. You're not exercising what love really is. It's the love of your brethren, your love of your nation, love of one another, giving it to one another, like Christ did, the church. You going?
And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these.
And that's the greatest commandment. Ultimately, let me get 2 Timothy 3 and verse 2.
The book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 2. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God.
See, this is what happens when you start loving yourself. All these flaws start to come and play into your spirit and start to turn you spoiled, rotten, way more spoiled than milk. When you start loving yourself, this is what happens internally. You start to become a hater. Ultimately, you a God hater. Because if you don't love, you can always tell if somebody really love you or rock with you by how they treat your children in return. You can tell this world do not love us by how they treat us. And you can read that in 1 John chapter 5 and verse 2. Just hold on to this one.
The book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 2. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and keep his commandments.
This is how you know we love one another once we start keeping the commandments. Once we start doing right to each other. This is how you know you love God, by loving his children. All y'all looking like all my children. The Lord love y'all. He ain't just going to hug one individual more than another. He going to hug all of us the same. Go back to 1 Timothy for me, please. 2 Timothy 3 and 2.
You want to pick up at?
Oh, yeah. Okay, where we left off. Okay.
Verse 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. You want verse 6?
Oh, no, you can drop that. Let me get Revelation 2 and 19. Well, but ultimately, people, the moral of the story is this is not a single player story. Christ had 12 disciples. Even Paul traveled with a company. So this is, if you don't get anything, this is what I'm telling you. It's more to it than just you. This is not story mode with just individuals. You got to start having companions and comrades with you in order to advance and go further in life. We got to start speaking life into one another instead of speaking death. And start valuing each other and start trusting one another instead of distrusting in, oh, he can't come in my house because I don't like the way he walk. He switch a little bit too much. He probably got a bad back. But you assuming. But if you don't get nothing else, let me get I'm gonna end it with this one because I got a lot, but I kind of skipped around. Let me get 1 Peter 4 and 8.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 8. And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins.
Keep going.
Use hospitality one to another without grudging.
Keep going.
As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as the ability which God giveth, that God in all things may be glorified through Mashiach Yahushua.
And with that, Israel, say shalom.